Hi, everyone, and welcome to Val Talks Pets, the forum for pet parents and enthusiasts alike. Having been in the pet industry for over 10 years now, I'm going to share with you issues and questions that arise as I work with pet parents on a day-to-day basis. I am not a veterinarian, but I do have certifications in canine, feline, small animal, fish and herptile, and avian health and nutrition from the University of California, Davis Extension. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Val Talks Pets. This is a super exciting episode because my guest today is Dr. Rob Hillerby from Caledon Mountain Veterinary Hospital in Caledon, Ontario, Canada. It's a busy life for most veterinarians, and they are relied upon so greatly by pet parents. In the human world, there are specialists for just about every condition. But vets have to be able to diagnose within a vast array of ailments and conditions our pets can have. Plus, they are the ones we go to for maintenance with checkups and vaccinations. They really do it all. So, what is it like to be a vet? Let's find out and welcome Dr. Rob Hillerby, DVM, to the show. Dr. Rob, welcome to Val Talks Pets.
Hi, Val. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to chat with me. So I thought we'd get right to it because I know you're a busy guy. So
Sure thing.
One of the things I really wanted to actually start with is asking you how long you've actually been a veterinarian.
Yeah, sure. So I graduated from the University of Guelph, Ontario Veterinary College, 2009. So that's 12 years that I've been working as a vet currently.
And is that something that you always wanted to be?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly one of my earliest memories is my parents had a show dog, an Irish setter, and she had some puppies. I think she had 13 puppies, and one of my very earliest memories is getting up early on Saturday morning and climbing over the board that they had put to stop the puppies from getting out of the whelping pen, and just being surrounded by puppies all over the place. And that's, I think one of those solidifying moments in my life that sort of made me think, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then, as you grow up and you go to school and you like math and you like sciences, you start to realize that that's something that's really interesting. You get involved in the medicine side of things, and it certainly has been a lifelong dream for me, and no regrets at all from 12 years in.
That's fantastic. It's one of those things. It's like there's lots of kids that say, I want to be a veterinarian, but it always doesn't follow through, especially when you get hit with those science courses.
I think when you love animals, it's a very clear sort of path. I love animals. I want to work with animals, and being a veterinarian is one of those jobs that people just think about as being wonderful. And certainly lots of opportunities in the field to work with animals, and it's a great career.
Absolutely. You do, you're mostly in small animal, so you get to see lots of dogs and cats and probably our little furry friends too. Have you ever done large animal, or had you ever thought of doing large animal, like horses or cows?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife and I live on a farm. We have horses on our farm, and certainly I used to do quite a bit of riding, and so horses were a big part of my interest in veterinary medicine. And when I graduated, I worked at a mixed animal practice, so cats and dogs in the hospital, but also would go out and do farm calls to see horses. And actually the area, there was a lot of dairy cows in the area, so we did quite a bit of dairy work there. You get called pretty regularly to a cow that was having difficulty calving.
Yeah.
So that was always an interesting call. And then lots of people that had other farms too. We'd see goats, or there was an alpaca farm that we did work for as well. And just about anything. If you had a problem, then you gave us a call, and we'd sort it out for you.
Yeah, you're the real James Harriet.
Yeah, and it was amazing. It was just such a, I was a new graduate, and I had all this knowledge in my head, and I learned all this stuff, and then just to go out and put into practice, and you just never knew what the day was going to hold for you.
Yeah, I could imagine. So considering that, what's sort of like a typical day for you now when you go into the clinic?
Yeah, so now for the last 5 years, I've worked at the Caledon Mountain Veterinary Hospital in Caledon, Ontario, and it is a small animal only practice, so we just see dogs and cats here. I guess there's occasional other pet that might get brought in, or sometimes wildlife that we have to see.
Oh.
But primarily it is just cats and dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It's even limiting to just two species. You really the days a typical day. It's hard to say because every day is going to be different. We do a lot of wellness care, so people bringing in their animals for their yearly exams, and
Mm-hmm.
you get to know the pet because they come to see you every year. You get to know the owner because they come in regularly as
Mm-hmm.
well, perhaps with multiple animals. But also there's emergency things that come in. A dog that cut their foot and need to be stitched up, and that has to happen right there and then, or a dog that's whelping and having a problem, and you need to do a cesarean section on them there and then because that sort of thing can't wait. So,
Exactly.
but I would say your general day involves probably similar to your GP practitioner, a lot of wellness care visits and a lot of little small minor medical problems, and then the occasional big problem that you have to deal with as well. And every day is different.
Because vets have to be all around. You're doing the wellness care, you're doing surgery, everything. Do you do a fair bit of surgery yourself?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the unique aspects of veterinary medicine is, in human medicine, you become a specialist general
Mm-hmm.
practitioner, or you become a specialist surgeon, you become an eye doctor, or a skin doctor, all of those things. But as a veterinarian, we have to do all those things. And there certainly is specialization
Mm-hmm.
within the profession as well. But on Mondays, I have time set aside to do surgeries, and that's all I would do. Come up with the anesthetic protocols, do the surgeries, and a lot of that is reproductive surgery. So spays and neuters are very common. A lot of dental care is done, so a general anesthetic to remove infected teeth. Um, but then there's also some specialty procedures that get done here as well.
Oh, for
And
sure.
then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm in doing appointments, and again, that's sort of whatever comes through the door.
Yeah, yeah. It's you just you never know. It's going to be interesting day after day. That's right.
We do see quite a bit of specialty practice in veterinary medicine, and more specialization as people, I think, look for a better standard of care for their pets too. So, we have a surgeon who works here as well, and that's all he does is surgery and surgery consult.
Dr. John.
If you That's right, Dr. John. Yeah, he's the owner of the practice here, and a wonderful guy. And he's taught me a lot about surgery as well. Um, but if your dog had an eye problem, we would go and see an ophthalmologist the same way that you or I would.
Right, and I have mentioned on other episodes actually that that Dr. John was the one who was the only one that diagnosed my dog and saved his life. So
Yeah.
I've mentioned him many times for that reason, and he's very very well known for his specialty and what he does in the surgeries as well. So yeah, your clinic has a lot to offer. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when you're seeing people and sometimes a pet comes in and it's not feeling well and there's something going on and you do the tests and everything to see what's happening, what kind of underlying conditions going on. This is when sometimes I think your job gets a bit more challenging, and that's, say, for example, when you get that diagnosis back that is not going to be the best and you have to relay that to the pet parents. What sort of goes through your mind when you have that tough conversation coming up?
Yeah. I mean, it's a really challenging thing. I mean, people I think of veterinary medicine as being this wonderful place where we get to see puppies and kittens all the time. But you're right. There is the other side of it as well. There's tough calls that have to be made, and I think of my role here being to try to provide information to pet parents and let them um, let them know what their options are. So I think my my when I have that tough conversation in advance, I try to think, well, what are the options and what can we provide? What information does that person need to know to make an informed decision? And how can I help them to counsel them to say, well, this is probably not something that you've had to deal with frequently or ever perhaps, and how can I help you to make the best decision? It's tough, but it's rewarding too because even with bad situations, there's very rare times that we really can't do anything. There's always options, and there's always more that can be done. And I think to help people through that. That's one of the really rewarding parts of this job is, it's not just helping pets, but it's helping people with pet problems.
Absolutely, because they're the partnership. That's right, and they're looking. Yeah, they're together. I mean, we know how many people, and you yourself as well. I'm sure with your own animals, it's the same thing. I mean, they are so a part of us, right? So it's very, very, very
Absolutely.
difficult. Yeah, and sometimes I think people they'll go to great lengths, any lengths there is, if there's anything to help save their pet if there's something going on that's not looking good. But sometimes, is that actually in the best interest of the pet? When you're,
Yeah,
it's a hard question. I know that.
absolutely. The real challenges in veterinary medicine is that for a human doctor, you go to the doctor, and the patient is also your client. You're counseling the person who is making the decision about themselves. But for a veterinarian, the person, the owner, the pet parent is the client, but the animal is actually the patient. And sometimes I think the the best interests of the pet parent and the best interest of the animal are not the same thing, right? I would definitely say there's lots of times we see people who just want to hold on till the very end, and maybe that's not the right thing for every animal in every situation. Or the opposite is sometimes true, that there's a very treatable uh, disease that's going on, or illness, or a condition, and for whatever reason, the pet parent just doesn't want to go through with that. And we try not to judge in those situations, because everybody has their own lives and their own reasons for doing things. But that is definitely one of the key challenges for working in veterinary medicine, is to say, this is what I think the animal needs, and this is what I think we can help you do.
I can imagine, and I bet you one of the biggest questions you get is people asking you what you would do.
All the time, absolutely. But for me, that's a hard question to answer, and maybe not even relevant in a lot of situations, because to me, the much more important question is, what's the right choice for you, and what's the right choice for your pet, and how can we align those two things?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's a whole different ball game, because for what you would do and what someone else, based on everything from financial ability to emotional ability, you name it, right?
Mm. Yeah, but when I hear the question, "What would you do?" It just says to me, I need some more context for making this decision, and I think that's a big part of the work as a veterinarian, is to help people put into context these really challenging medical situations, probably for any doctor as well.
Now, that makes total sense to me when you say it that way. They're looking for more context, because they're just asking you, well, what would you do? Because they're thinking, I'm not sure at this point. I don't know. And yes, you're absolutely right. They are looking for more context. That makes total sense. Yeah. And we've all been through this as pet owners, when we have to make the decision for our pets, and we know that. And sometimes those decisions are made for us too, because sometimes our pets will pass away abruptly for whatever reason. But
Mm.
and I know this is probably one of the most challenging parts of your job, is also when when you have to do euthanasia. And I'm wondering how that affects you on your day-to-day basis. Is that something that follows you home, or are you able to sort of set that aside into another place? Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. I've been a vet for more than a decade now, and I think you're right. You do compartmentalize, or you do set aside your day, and you go home to your family afterwards. Anyways, certainly as a new graduate, that was a much harder thing to do. But I do actually get asked this a lot. Usually, when people are saying goodbye to their animals, how do you do this? My feeling is, in almost every situation where I am helping somebody to say goodbye to their animal, I truly believe that it is in the animal's best interest to do that. So it it's not something I like doing, and it's not something that we try to do in our day to day. But if we have to, it's because it's needed, and that's the thing that helps me say, well, this is the right thing. This animal, is suffering, or is going to be suffering, and the right thing to do is to help them to say goodbye peacefully rather than have them continue to go through whatever it is that they're dealing with. I will say, thinking back to 12 years ago, being a new graduate, I do always think of this, very first euthanasia that I had to perform, where it was a young dog that was healthy, and the owner just said, this is my decision. I want to do this, and I always regret not being able to change that person's mind or come up with other options for it. And that, even 12 years on, is something that still
sticking with you.
Wishing that there's something else that we could have done in that situation.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And I see. And you're new, and that's tough, really tough.
A very tough lesson to learn.
How can a pet parent try to make the experience sort of less stressful for their pet?
That's a great question, and a real challenge with the current human public health restrictions that mean that a lot of time pets are not accompanied by their parents into the clinic, or there's modified protocols if they are. Really challenging. One of the things I think is becoming a lot more awareness about is the idea of fear-free pet visits. Our hospital's done a lot of fear-free certification, and I guess if that is something that you as a pet parent are interested in finding out from your vet, or talking to clinics that are fear-free certified and seeing if there is something in place that's there. It's just maybe to me an awareness that the way that we did things 20 years ago is not the only way of helping pets now, but there's lots of things that we are able to do. I think trying to make that experience positive with treats, or trying to reserve experiences that are negative, like minor procedures that need to be done, blood collections and things like that. We reserve that for times where the pet has had a sedative to help them through that, so they're not having negative experiences. One of the things that we used to do a lot of before the pandemic was having people just come in for happy visits. I mean, I think getting a pet used to the fact that they can come in and have a good time here is really important. It's really challenging now that we're kind of restricted, but that was a big part of building up those early visits to make them positive and happy, so that when they do have to come in for other things, it's not already set up with this sort of fear that's going on for them. I think people are quite receptive to doing things just to ensure the success of future visits for their pets.
Yeah, I was doing some research about the fear-free professionals and certification, and I know that Caledon Mountain Vet Hospital, you have that there as well. So is that everybody in the clinic that takes that, or is that like the vets and the vet techs, or everybody?
Yeah, so I mean, at the time that we were certified, every staff member had to go through some training, and I can't remember, it was 9 or 10 hours of training. I think it was lots of modules that had to be gone through. So there was just an awareness of this is the respectful way that we want to treat animals that come into the hospital, and if they are not happy about the things that we're doing, we need to change our behavior, not change their behavior. And no, there was a time where I think people would just say, well, we just need to get this done. But that's not the philosophy that we follow. And I think I would say it really does make a difference in terms of how pets feel about coming in here. And there are certifications that are available. Lots of clinics, I think, do that. So if that's something that clients are interested in looking into, check it out and see if your vet is fear-free certified, or look into the certification as well.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of information about it, actually, when I had a look into it. And so I think that sounds like a really interesting thing for people to pick up as a tip when they're looking for a clinic to go to. And I know that you're...
Especially when you can't be there with your animal, knowing that is the philosophy of the clinic, I think is really helpful to know, well, what is being done to my pets, and how are they handling them, and is it something that I would approve of.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess once we get, once things change, we hope in the near future, we're not really sure, but so with all of the new puppies and that everybody has got, I would imagine it's probably encouraged that you bring your puppy in, but just for a visit to get used to coming.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a really challenging situation too, because I would say definitely we've seen a lot of puppies with behavioral issues, and my feeling is that a lot of those animals spend a lot of time at home with their family members. They don't have a lot of contact with new people or with other dogs. Sort of the normal things that you might do on a day-to-day basis. So then when they do come to the vet hospital or a pet store or groomers, those things are very strange and then therefore stressful. For me, it is quite challenging to get those animals in here, which I'd love to do. Have them come in on a regular basis for just happy visit. We're not doing a lot of that right now. One of the things I commonly recommend to new pet parents or people with new puppies and new kittens is, that there are socialization classes, like a doggy daycare. I think is one of those things that can really make a big difference in terms of how a puppy is socialized. And that's something that I think, when we see the dogs that are going on a regular basis to these social programs and are left so that they're having a good time away from their parents and understanding, hey, it's not so bad to be separated from mom and dad. I think that makes a big difference in terms of their behavior for their lifetime.
Yeah, it really does, and I think that's a really good tip. And there's some really good daycare situations. One of our people that we work with, one of my favorite people, she's a fantastic groomer, and she has a huge property, and she has a daycare, and the daycare dogs are out, romping around, and they all go out on leashes, of course, but in the forests and on trails and playing with each other, and yeah, it makes a big difference. Big difference.
Yeah, I mean, they just learn that going out is fun, meeting new people is fun. There are other dogs in the world, and this is normal, and I think that just helps with every aspect of their lives, rather than every hour of my day is spent at home with mom, and when that's not the case, it's scary.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have animals at home besides
I
your
I
horses?
do, yeah. We have three miniature horses. We have two cats. One cat, actually, a wonderful little um, um, Siamese cross cat who was. My wife is also a veterinarian, and he was given up because somebody couldn't afford the care that he needed. So and he sat in their hospital for 6 weeks and was so friendly. And my wife said, "Well, we need a cat for our barn. Why don't we bring him home?" And he never made it to the barn.
Yeah, I could see that going. Yeah.
Yeah, and a little kitten that we got last year for our kids, who's in the house as well and living with us. We also have 30 chickens, I think, about that. At this, we lose track sometimes, but yeah, on the property that we've got there.
And you have dogs?
We had an old dog who we lost last summer, and
Oh,
not decided that it was the right time to
get
get
a
a
new
new
one.
dog for our
Yeah,
house
no.
just yet.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm sure it will happen, but just not right
yeah,
now.
no. That makes total sense. Yeah, that's great. I just, I know your time is short, so I do have sort of one more question for you.
Sure,
Do you watch veterinarian shows?
yeah.
Like, do you watch Dr.
uh,
Paul or Bondi Vet or?
I have seen some of those shows.
Uh-huh.
I don't. Whenever I watch them, I get how to put it. I get um the the production part of it always bothers me. The veterinary medicine is great, and I think it's interesting to see, but this about the excitement that's kind of built around those things. Just that's not how it really happens in veterinary. That's hard for me to watch.
All the drama, right?
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder. Well, did you ever? Were you a fan of like All Creatures Great and Small as a child, or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I would much rather sit and read a James Harriet book and
Yeah.
kind of remember what it was like to go out to a little farm and know the farm owner and get paid in parsnips for helping them get
That's
their
right.
goats out because they were all tangled up or something like that.
That's
Than
right.
watch Bondi Vet.
Yeah, that's right. So you're just going to give up your surfboard before you go see the animals, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's very funny. Well, I really thank you so much for it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. And there's so many great tips, and I think our listeners will really take away quite a few things from there. And for pet parents and pet lovers, of course, our vets are our lifelines to caring for our pets the best way that we can. And so I thank you for everything that you do. And I'll definitely be asking you to come on for another chat, I hope. And I really do thank you for doing this today. I know you set it into your day, so I really appreciate it.
Sure, happy to help out, Val. And it's nice, always nice to chat about the profession that I'm passionate about. So feel free anytime to get in touch, and maybe we can talk some more.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Rob.
All right, you're welcome. Take care.
That was just a wonderful chat with Dr. Rob Hillerby. It really is an insight into the world of veterinary care when you get a chance to speak candidly with an actual vet. I love the way you can hear the passion Dr. Rob feels for his profession, and I was thinking how fortunate he is to be able to live the dream he had as a child to help animals. So I'm hoping we can have Dr. Rob back again. So feel free to send some questions or topics to my website, valtalkspets.com. And I would like to thank Dr. Rob Hillerby again for letting us get a glimpse into the world of veterinary care, which helps us as pet parents to see the other side of things because, as I say, knowing is caring. Thank you for listening to Val Talks Pets. Please remember to follow or subscribe to ensure that you never miss an episode. To really help the show and to make it easier for others to find, please rate and review each episode that you find interesting and helpful. And don't forget that you can also email me at val@valtalkspets.com with topics you would like me to address or with any questions you may have. Also, check out my website at valtalkspets.com and let me know what you think and how we can improve upon it. Thanks for caring!